There's a money move in Singapore that costs you $1 and just 5 minutes of your time, and most people never actually make it. And if you miss that window, it is actually going to cost you a full year of access to your own retirement money. And I'm talking about the Supplementary Retirement Scheme, or in short, we call it the SRS. Now, most people either ignore the SRS totally or they rush to top up when it might not actually make sense to them at the moment in time. And so in today's video, I'm going to share with you what is it, how to use $1 to maximize your retirement, and when does it actually make sense for you to top up or not. So let's get started. So SRS is a voluntary tax savings account for your retirement, and it sits right on top of CPF. So it's optional. If you don't want to top up, you don't have to top up. But know that every dollar that you top up in your SRS actually lowers your taxable income, which is your income tax that you will pay for that particular year. So depending if you are a Singaporean citizen or PR or foreigner, the cap is different, right? Singaporean and PR, the cap is about 15.3K per year, whereas for foreigner, it goes up to 35.7K. Now, there are a few perks that you can get from topping up, and it sounds good, but there are some nuances which I'm going to touch on in the rest of the video. Now, why do you want to actually top up your SRS? Okay, now the important thing is this thing called the retirement age in Singapore, right? Retirement age will continuously rise over the next few years, and the most recent one was actually just about a few days back on July 1st, where the retirement age was actually increased to 64 years old and re-employment age to 69 years old on July 1st, right? So and what we know is that there is no fixed duration on when this will increase, but what we know so far from CPF is that the limits are on a trajectory to reach 65 years old, retirement 65 years old, and re-employment at 70 years old by 2023. So another 4 more years. And prior to this, the last change was actually just 4 years back. So based on this, right, you can kind of know that the retirement age will increase every 4 years. Okay. Now, so why is this important? Because the moment where you top up your SRS for the first time, you actually lock in your retirement age that you can actually withdraw out your money from the SRS again, right? So if you top up before 1st July, when the retirement age was 63, right? That means at 63 years old, you can actually withdraw your SRS. But if you top up after 1st July, where the retirement age is now 64, you can only withdraw it at 64 without any penalties. So that is the difference. So you see, your penalty-free withdrawal age is locked permanently to the retirement age of your first contribution, right? And you don't have to do it yearly. You just have to do it once. And this is a hack, which is that you just need to deposit $1 and you will already lock your SRS withdrawal age for life, right? Even if, let's say, after that, you don't add another cent. And this $1 move actually costs you nothing real, right? There is literally no reason for you not to do it, whether or not you ever choose to top up your SRS later or not. All right. Now, of course, it depends on every individual circumstances. So I want to touch on when does it make sense to top up your SRS. So the first one is when you pay meaningful income tax. Okay, so all of us are in different income tax bracket. So this $1 lock is for everyone, right? But for those who intend to top up more than $1, when does it make sense is when you pay meaningful income tax, right? So if you are in the higher tax bracket, you notice that in Singapore, we have a progressive tax system. For example, in your first 40K, you're going to pay about 3.5%, and then the next 80K, 7%, subsequently 120K is 11.5%. So basically, right, the higher you are in your tax bracket, okay, remember this, the higher you are in your tax bracket, the more it makes sense for you to top up. Okay, so for example, let's say you choose to top up 10K. Okay, if you choose to top up 10K, right, and if you are in this bracket over here, which is the fourth bracket, right, this 10K, right, will allow you to save roughly about 1150 in savings. Okay, 1150 savings. That's why the higher you are, right, it just makes more sense for you to top up as well. Okay, so this is the first point. Now, the second one is if you don't need the cash in the near term, right? Because of certain expenses, big expenses that might be coming up, example, wedding, renovation, household expenses, so on and so forth, right? Kids expenses, all that kind of stuff. So you would only want to top up, right, if you have that spare cash that you know that you don't need in the short term. If you know that you're going to have a very big expenses, let's say in the next 1 to 2 years, that's where you want to consider whether should you top up as much as you can to your SRS or actually hold back for this particular year. And the third one is that you will actually invest it. Okay, now this is very important because if you just top up your SRS and you leave it there, right, you are actually earning just 0.05% interest per year. This is very, very bad. So topping up your SRS is just the first part. You will also want to invest in it such that inflation doesn't erode your purchasing power over time if you leave the funds idle over there. And to illustrate to you the difference, so this is the future value calculator, right? Now let's assume that you just top up for one single year, which is about 15.3K, that max limit, right? And you don't do any top ups after that. And assuming that you the money you invest it and is growing at 8% per year, which is a very long-term annualized, comfortable annualized rate, right? This amount, right, in 20 years is just going to grow to like $71,000. Now, this is just assuming you top up one time and you invest in it. Now, comparing, right, if you are doing it every single year for the next 20 years, this amount will change drastically, right? So you can take a look at this. If you invest another 15.3K every single year for 20 years, right, this at the same interest rate of 8%, right, your value will just balloon up to close to $750,000, right? And this is a far cry from just 0.05%, leaving it there doing nothing as well. Now, I also have a Telegram group where I share a lot more of these investment tips and strategies, be it CPF, SRS, or just crafting your own portfolio, be it in the US or in the Singapore market. Okay, and it also helps a lot of people stay calm as I also push out daily market updates as we go along. Now, there are already over 800 investors there already, and we are all just learning to think long term together and build our portfolio. So it's completely free to join. The link's in the description box down below. So come and join us. Now, to open your SRS account is actually very straightforward. You can just choose either one of your favorite bank, be it DBS, UOB, or OCBC, and open it through the iBanking portal. Now, some students might ask me, hey, Beyond, should we go with which one, DBS, UOB, or OCBC? Honestly, there is no difference at all. Just go with the banks that you are most familiar with. For me personally, it's all in DBS because I've been using DBS most of the time. You can also go to the branch and open it, but for ease of access, you just do it online as well. And following up on point 3, how do you actually invest in it? Now, there are two simple routes. The first one is you can do some sort of a hands-off investing, which is handing it to a robo-advisor to do it. One of them is actually Endowers. They can actually help you to invest your SRS to a diversified portfolio, and they will actually help you to rebalance as well. So that is the first option. The second one is you can actually use certain brokerages like Poems or Fund Supermart to so it's more of like a bit more manual where they have ETFs, T-bills, and unit trusts. So both ways, hands off or a bit more DIY. Now, which one is better is up to you. There isn't one perfect solution. The whole idea is that when your SRS, you top up, right? When you top up your SRS, you must actually invest it and not just park inside over there. Now, if you want to find out more about what kind of investment assets to invest in, be it Endowers or Poems, I actually did a video about it. It's very similar to using your CPF to invest. So I'll link the video somewhere around at the bottom over here so you can click it and watch it later. Now, there are also some rules where you have to pay very close attention to. And the first one is this early withdrawal penalty before your retirement age. Okay, so there will be a 5% penalty that will be slapped directly on the total amount that you withdraw. For example, right, if you withdraw $10,000, they will deduct $500 as a penalty. Okay, and when you withdraw this $10,000, right, will be added back to your income tax. Okay, so it's all taxable income. You'll be treated as taxable income from there, right? And meaning that what it means is that at the year, you could end up paying a much heavier tax bill on it depending on your other earnings. Okay, there are some leeways where this penalty will be waived. For example, on medical grounds, bankruptcy, death, or foreigner. So this early withdrawal penalty is why I shared earlier that you got to make sure that it is cash that you don't need in the short term when you're topping up your SRS. Otherwise, you're going to face a double whammy, which is the 5% penalty as well as an increased taxable income for that particular year. And the next thing I want to share, which is if you withdraw your SRS after the retirement age. So at retirement, right, only 50% of your withdrawals are taxable. Okay, so this is penalty-free withdrawal. You will not be succumbed to this 5% withdrawal if you withdraw after your retirement age. This is the whole idea why I shared earlier that you want to just top up $1 first just to lock in that retirement age over there. Now, and you remember this table which I shared earlier about the tax bracket, right? So notice that the chargeable income for the first 20K is actually 0%, right? And 50% of your withdrawals are taxable at retirement, right? So what does this mean? This means that you can actually withdraw $40,000 per year from your SRS during your retirement years, and you end up paying 0% in tax. That is the power of the SRS. Now, I do also want to take some time to talk about some common SRS mistakes. And the first one is maxing it out when you barely pay any taxes. So if you are in the lower bracket, right, in terms of the percentage tax that you have to pay, it is not a lot. And you are basically locking your money for little benefits, especially if you actually need them in the near term. The second one is leaving in cash at 0.05%, which I already shared earlier, because inflation will just end up eating the rest if you do nothing about it. And the third one is locking up money that you will need in the near term, because if you contribute money that you need before your retirement age, it will be fully taxed if you have to withdraw it, plus the 5% penalty. And the last one is missing the top up deadline. So now the retirement age is 64. So the next time it's going to increase is probably 4 years later. But know that the time to top up your SRS, the latest deadline is by the end of this year on 31st December. So whatever you put in your SRS, right, make sure you actually invest it and don't just let it sit there doing nothing. SRS will not make you rich alone, but if you use it correctly, it is a tax break for you right now and a tax-friendly runway into your retirement. So it's a very quiet and powerful tool, but if you use it wrongly, right, it end up just becoming locked money over there. And if you haven't started or haven't even opened your SRS account, all you need to do is just $1 to open it. It is as simple as that, and you can just do it within the day itself. That's all that I have for you for today's video. I hope that this has given you a better idea of SRS and when should you actually top up and maximize your retirement from there. So if you do enjoy this video, be sure to like and subscribe down below. It would really help me to create more of such content for you. And I'll see you in the next one.